Tonight, 34 stone and still too slim.
You think to yourself, right, well, how do I get this operation then? What can I do? Do I feed myself silly with all the stuff that is wrong for me until I get one of these diseases so they can turn around and say, OK, you have these diseases now, we can see you.
Getting bigger to qualify for weight loss surgery.
Since they raised the barrier for surgery, people are trying to get over the barrier by eating more and putting more weight on. It's a madness in the system, not by the patients, because they know surgery is the only thing that can help them.
But could more weight loss operations save the NHS money?
My condition will not get better, it'll get worse. The ironic part about it all is the cost of all these drugs is astronomical compared with the cost of a simple operation.
Nobody wants to be grossly overweight, but once the pounds are piled on, there's a cost to the health of the individual and to the NHS, who have to deal with the consequences, from diabetes and worn-out joints to high blood pressure and heart disease. According to some experts, the best and most cost-effective option is weight loss surgery. But we've discovered even people who qualify under national guidelines are being told they can't have the operation. And that means somewhere down the line, a bigger drain on the NHS. And incredibly, some very fat patients are taking away the message that the only way they can get surgery is to carry on eating and make themselves even bigger. Patients like 34-stone Gemma from Swansea. To her, food is her only comfort.
It started when my grandfather died. That's when the depression hit home. I was just eating chocolate, or every day big bar of chocolate and say 3 little chocolates, cakes, pasties, just to comfort myself because I was so depressed. I was crying all the time, just to comfort myself and make me feel a bit happier.
Gemma can't work because of her weight, and she's now developing expensive illnesses. Even a short walk from her house is traumatic. She's out of breath and in pain.
Bottom of my back starting to ache. My knees stay shaking. My legs are thumping. And I'm out of breath as well. If I go any further, I won't be able to walk. I'd have to sit on the floor because it'd be that painful. I won't be able to move. I just want to go back in the house now.
Gemma's been told that the most effective way for her to shed the pounds is weight loss surgery, which would drastically reduce the size of her stomach and stop her from overeating.
Weight loss surgery would help lose a lot of weight first, for me to be able to be mobilised, because I can't do anything at the moment. With the help of the operation, it would let me exercise, be able to walk, and walking's going to help me lose weight, obviously.
Under national guidelines, surgery is only recommended to some patients with a body mass index over 35 who've convinced doctors they've tried all other methods to lose weight first. But as they're only guidelines, ultimately each hospital trust decides who gets the operation, and this can depend on budgets and resources. In Wales, where Gemma lives, they've decided weight loss surgery is a low priority. So even though she has a BMI of 81, she still doesn't qualify. When you heard that Gemma had been turned down, Professor Baxter, what did you think? Obviously it's incredibly upsetting and frustrating for Gemma, but for you too as a surgeon.
Well, I'm equally distressed because we'd spent a lot of time with Gemma. She deserves surgery. She satisfies all the national guidelines for it. She needs it in order to save her life and prevent development of comorbidities. So I'm distressed in that I'm trained to do the surgery. I have a patient who needs it, but I'm not allowed the funding to do it.
For you, Gemma, it must almost seem as if the message you're being given is go home, put on more weight, get more ill and then come back.
Yeah, basically.
How do you feel about that?
I find it ridiculous. I find it ridiculous. I have been tested for diabetes, and me and Dr. Gunnaby were praying. I know it sounds really silly to be praying you have diabetes, but praying that I had it just so I could have the operation, because that's what I need.
Health Commission Wales told Tonight they can't comment on individual cases, but say difficult funding decisions are made on limited budgets, and they've prioritised other treatments, including cancer care. But they will offer weight loss surgery in exceptional cases. In Telford, it's the same story. These morbidly obese patients all satisfy national guidelines, but they've all been told, nevertheless, they're still too slim for surgery. The result? Some are taking that as a message to eat themselves even fatter.
After you were turned down, Tanya, was there ever a part of you that thought, well, I'm not reaching the criteria, I'll go home, I'll get bigger, I'll get more ill, and then perhaps I will get the operation?
Yeah, I would be thinking, well, they say, you know, that the bigger people will get it. That would give you more encouragement if, you know, to eat. That they're saying you're not big enough to have it, but you know in yourself, and you would. It just is more fuel to the fire to do these things.
And wouldn't that something you're seeing? Patients going home and eating to get the operation?
Yes. Since they raised the barrier for surgery, people are trying to get over the barrier by eating more and putting more weight on. And that's very sad.
It's madness, isn't it?
It's a madness in the system, not by the patients. They're trying to help themselves because they know surgery is the only thing that can help them.
In Swansea, Gemma says she can't lose enough weight naturally, so feels her only option is to stay at home, eat and wait until she qualifies.
You're thinking about what they've told you, that, you know, the reasons why you can't have the operation. You think to yourself, right, well, how do I get this operation then? What can I do? Do I feed myself silly with all the stuff that is wrong for me until I get one of these diseases, so they can turn on and say, okay, you have these diseases now, we can see you. I don't want to get to that state where you can actually have a life-threatening disease. I want to stop it now, before I get there.
Obesity is still considered by many people to be a self-inflicted condition which can and should be controlled at home with diet and exercise. But some obesity experts say the problem is now so great, it's up to the NHS to take a bigger role in helping the morbidly obese. Ignoring the cost of the obesity crisis is not an option. The NHS spends £1 in every 10 dealing with diabetes and other weight-related illnesses. For Gemma, her consultant is convinced that surgery is the easiest and most cost-effective treatment.
There's plenty of literature on the web and published in learned journals about how obesity surgery cures a lot of comorbidities, particularly diabetes, improves management of high blood pressure, improves osteoarthritis, most of all saves money for the health service. Whichever way you look at it, conservative treatment, be it with psychology, with drugs or slimming clubs, fails in these patients in 95% of cases. That's just a fact of life. I think most obesity surgeons would like to be done out of a job if some non-surgical treatment came along that was effective, but that isn't going to happen for a long time.
Why is it that you can't lose the weight you need to with diet and with exercise?
Well, it's exercising is really hard with my back and my legs. It's restricted to 5 minutes at a time. Diet, I'm good. I do go good with my diet, but if something upsets me, the first thing that I do is comfort eat. I've done it since I was 7. It's just my way of coping. I don't talk to people about it. It's my way of dealing with the problem, and so that's what's not helping my diet. I comfort eat and I'll eat my chocolate and my biscuits.
Meet 2 men whose obesity is costing the NHS around £3,000 a year each in drugs to maintain their quality of life. Don, at the bottom of the screen, lives in Wales and Stephen lives in North Shields. But only one will get surgery costing around £10,000.
Well, my diet's pretty well Mr. Average's diet. Unfortunately, the quantities that I eat are eaten perhaps at the wrong time of the day. 9, 10 o'clock. You come down with the munchies. I might have 4 or 5 pieces of bread and butter with cheese or anything that's to hand. Maybe some chips. I'm doing my utmost best to try and control But as you can see, the end result is a chap that's 52 years old, morbidly obese, not happy with his lot.
As Don's health deteriorates, the cost of his care soars. The long-term bill to the NHS of keeping Don alive could be as high as £50,000.
The ironic part about it all is the cost of all these drugs is astronomical compared with the cost of a simple operation.
As we already know, in Wales a fat person only gets surgery in exceptional circumstances. And despite Don's ill health, he was turned down.
It means that my condition will not get better, it'll get worse. And the worse the condition gets, the shorter my life expectancy. I think it would be more convenient for them if I died.
In North Shields, it's a different story. Stephen Williams will be given surgery to keep him alive and reduce the growing long-term cost of his care to the NHS.
The importance of this surgery is life-saving as far as I'm concerned. I have been told that I have a very short lifespan simply because of everything that's happening to me, and in particular because I am heavy. I need to do something about it, and this surgery is the way I've chosen in the end to help me out. This is my saviour. In my opinion, it's the only way that I'm going to get a half-decent life.
At North Tyneside General Hospital, surgeon Sean Woodcock is part of a small team of surgeons in the North East who believe surgery not only improves patients' lifespan, but also reduces the burden to the NHS.
The operation I've got planned for Stephen today is a laparoscopic gastric bypass. The laparoscopic bit means we do this keyhole surgery. What we've got here is the normal anatomy. So this is the stomach, which you fill with food, and then you go into the small bowel, so your food heads down south. The first thing I'm going to do is going to make a very small gastric pouch. So the first part of the dissection is to physically staple across this top part of the stomach, about the size of an egg. That gives a restrictive element to this operation, i.e. you can only take a couple of mouthfuls and then you feel full. Now the second part of the operation is I'm going to identify a bit of the small bowel, and I'm going to bring this up and attach it to this pouch. I'm bypassing at least a metre of the small bowel. It's out of the circulation.
Sean's team are able to perform around 200 operations a year, but he believes that's only the tip of the iceberg.
In the North East, between myself here at North Tyneside and Sunderland, we must have a catchment of about 3.5 million patients. Now, a conservative estimate would be that maybe 1 to 2% are morbidly obese, which would be the indication for surgery. So we're talking, again, conservatively 70,000 patients that could actually be helped by the service that we offer here.
Stephen's surgery could help him lose up to 8 stone, eliminate his health problems and reduce the cost of his illnesses.
In this area, the service that we run is extremely important. The only thing we know, certainly that works for our morbid obese patients, is surgery. We can treat, if not cure, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, patients with their osteoarthritis and their joints, people with sleep apnea, that would be falling asleep at the wheel. And the fact is these patients go back into employment and come off disability. It's very important.
Stephen is one of 3,000 people in the last year to have surgery in the UK, and the government have promised to double that figure.
This shows you where the gastric band goes around the top of your stomach.
But obesity patient support group BOSPA say that's not enough. They claim they're inundated with calls from those wanting weight loss surgery.
Well, the government plan is to increase the level of surgery over the next 5 years to about 6,000 operations, which is still woefully inadequate. There's about 720,000 people who are in the morbidly obese classification, and a percentage of those, will obviously need to have surgery. So we're lagging a long way behind in providing the number of operations that we need.
I think we have to raise this as being a key important strategy for tackling those people who are already obese and who are suffering and costing the health service enormous sums of money. We have a treatment that works, that pays for itself within 3 years probably. I mean, there are not many treatments that actually you get the money back within 3 years. It's ridiculous that the government is not actually directing primary care trusts to actually read the evidence and implement the evidence.
Thousands of patients are now left waiting because many health trusts are reluctant to fund surgery. In Telford, surgeon Auden Sigurdsson wishes he too could offer more of his patients operations.
How many operations are you doing on NHS patients a year, and how many could you be doing?
For this local area here, I'm operating for around 10 to 15 patients a year. I could easily operate on 200 patients per year.
How frustrating is that for you?
It's extremely frustrating for all of us who are looking after these patients. We see these patients' health deteriorate in front of our eyes. Year after year they're coming into the clinic. Year after year we are requesting funding for their operations. We're not getting anywhere. And this is very frustrating.
Health trusts in Telford say they funded 27 obesity operations last year and are looking into funding more. They say a business plan is being prepared in line with the national criteria and that their local healthy weight loss initiatives are helping to tackle obesity.
Cookery lessons are to become compulsory in secondary schools under new government plans announced today.
With a quarter of all adults now classed as obese, the government last week launched its own strategy to tackle the growing cost of obesity.
How are you going to persuade them away from mastering the best burger and fries in the business?
You could teach children to make perhaps 8 really good main courses and 8 really good salads, which they would be so proud of and they'd feel they'd achieved something.
Cooking lessons in schools, clearer food labelling and free healthy food vouchers for the obese were part of the new strategy. Critics say for the hundreds of thousands of people who are already morbidly obese, these ideas don't go far enough.
Well, the government's strategy about tackling obesity is really focused primarily, as I see it, on prevention. And that's a very good thing, except that I don't know anywhere in the world that has yet shown an effective strategy for prevention. I think that prevention of obesity will require huge changes, not just within medicine, but, if you like, social engineering. I think it's something we have to consider. But I'm a doctor and I see people who already have a disease, and I want to be able to treat them with effective, safe treatments that are good value for money.
The Department of Health told Tonight it's up to local trusts to decide on who gets surgery. But Tonight has discovered that with only 30 surgeons providing this operation and with so many obese people, the system couldn't cope if everyone who wanted surgery was offered it. NHS trusts who don't follow national guidelines on who qualifies for surgery will invariably mean those in need are overlooked. Meet two sisters, Lisa and Jane Sampson. They both used to weigh 26 stone each. But in November, Jane on the left had surgery and is shrinking, but her sister Lisa was turned down and is still growing.
Just over 3 stone I've lost, and I know I'm not going to put that back on. Every time I went to Slimming World or Weight Watchers or wherever, I'd lose X. The most I've ever lost is 3 stone, and then it's gone back on again. So I know now that this is never ever going to go back on again.
Jane lives in Sussex, an area where surgery is used to avoid the long-term cost of obesity. But for Lisa, who lives here in Surrey, she was turned down for surgery last year despite the same family history of obesity and the fact their father has advanced diabetes.
This is about 5 years ago, and he'd just had a stroke and he'd lost the sight in this eye.
Now he's deteriorated from that then?
Yeah, I mean now he can't walk, his speech is very slow, he doesn't enjoy life at all, he gets no enjoyment out of life.
And so his quality of life now is really deteriorated?
I mean, my mum's looking after him, and my eldest sister, he lives with my eldest sister as well. But, the quality of life for him is nothing.
But there's another reason why Lisa feels her local trust should invest in her health now. Her daughter Sarah Jane needs a kidney transplant urgently, and Lisa is a potential donor.
I've only got 1 kidney, but it has failed, and which means I'm on dialysis. So if my mum does lose the weight, then she can give me a kidney, which means I don't have to wait. I mean, I'm not saying that my mum's the only person who can give me a kidney, but at the moment, she's the only person who is likely to give me one, and that's not going to happen unless she doesn't get this surgery. So she's not just, they're not just saving one life, they're saving two.
The cost of the dialysis is £30,000 a year. Lisa's weight loss operation would cost £10,000 and could also prevent the long-term expense of her developing diabetes.
Lisa, for you, how do you believe surgery would change your life?
Oh, amazingly, to have surgery would mean that I'm healthy, that I'm here for my daughter, I'm here for my son, you know, and that I'm going to live a long and happy life. This rate, I mean, my dad's 67 and we're watching him die, so...
So you see your dad really as a reflection of what might happen to you?
Yeah, yeah. I look at my dad and I see my future because, I could cry, you know, he's dying. Sorry. You know, and that's what he's doing. You know, in the future, that's where it's going to go. That's where I will end up in the future. But my dad, he can't walk. You know, he finds it hard to talk. He doesn't enjoy life.
It makes me realise how lucky I've been, because I have been lucky. Like I say, my doctor asked me if I wanted it. She knows that my dad's got diabetes. That's been taken away from me now. The chances of me having diabetes now are so slim, it's almost non-existent. So that's been taken away. And I see Lisa getting so upset, and because she's having to fight for it, and it's just so unfair. I live 50 miles down the road.
Tonight contacted Surrey Primary Care Trust last week, and on Wednesday they claimed to have already agreed to offer Lisa the surgery, they just hadn't told her. And despite turning Lisa down last year, they say they do regularly fund surgery to those who meet national guidelines. Good news for Lisa, but for other morbidly obese patients who are still denied surgery, like 34-stone Gemma Butler in Swansea, they're just waiting to become larger or more ill to meet local criteria.
Why are you so desperate to have surgery?
To get my life back. I'm in the house 24/7. I can't do anything. I can't go for a walk more than, well, 10, 15 yards.
What would it mean to you?
It would mean the world. It would mean like somebody handing me $1 million.
It's back to Weatherfield next on ITV1, and Friday night's in full swing with a ruckus in the Rovers. Then at 9, there's nothing like a crisis to motivate your staff. Well, that's Jonathan's idea. In practice, it's doomed from the start. It's moving wallpaper, followed later by Echo Beach.